We live in a world full of unexplainable and mysterious events that happen above us in the space and in the sky. This is already the 5th installment of Mysterious Sky Events on my channel. In the videos that you are about to see, you will probably agree that the videos provide no logical explanation for what you are seeing. So, let's begin. In June 2009, this video was recorded in Canada. We can see 2 perfect circles and several objects running along the border of these circles. Most people agree that it had to be a UFO. Let me know what you think it could be. These videos come from Kazakhstan. A hurricane slammed into the city with extremely powerful winds. Immediately, day turned into night. Here's a fragment of how dark it became. Some people think that someone was testing some form of climate weapon because this hurricane was just so weird. Just take a look for yourself how quickly day turned into night.
Ты чё? Эй! Хотите машину? Она пришла до перешла. Ё-моё. Вот это день. Это ливень такой? Господи, прости, боже мой. Молитесь. Надо молиться. Ой. Все, уходит. Какой дождь? Смерть.
In this video, we see a strange, mysterious phenomenon in the sky. You will probably immediately think that it is tail smoke from a jet or a plane. But when you take a look at the zoomed-in version of the video, you can spot a small, mysterious, unidentified object. What do you think it could be? This video shows 2 mysterious objects that remind you of light from projectors. This happened above a Norwegian city. One of these lights flies by the camera at an extremely fast speed. To me, it doesn't look like the lights from projectors. I went further to try and find more information about these mysterious lights, and I found another similar event that took place in Colorado. Same 2 objects that this time appeared above the mountain and desert. Recently, residents of China have begun seeing more and more paranormal events in the sky, which resemble ultra-modern cities, giant alien ships, or weird, enormous giants. A couple weeks ago, in the eastern city Xinjiang, witnesses were able to record another mysterious event in the sky. Local residents immediately labeled this event as the door to hell. The most popular assumption made was that this is the door to another world appearing above the city. Other guesses were that it's a magic carpet or a demonstration of a next generation phone. Skeptics believe that it's not a paranormal event, but rather just a projection pointed into the sky. This video was recorded just a week ago, and it immediately started to gain popularity on the internet. On the video, we can see how in the cloudy sky, a mysterious white object is moving in circles. Skeptics think that it could be a pack of pigeons or just floating plastic bags. Let me know what you think. Several videos of one paranormal event were recorded by witnesses in England. They were recorded on July 18, 2017. This strange object that quickly changes its shape first appeared above the sea. Another witness saw it later above the highway. Another girl recorded it above a mountain. Here are more videos of the same event by random people in different locations. A lot of people think that it just could have been a cloud of birds or bees. Thank you all for watching. Please let me know in the comments what you think about these mysterious videos, and I will see you in the next video. Regardless of the fact that the people of the world now have advanced technologies, there are still a lot of unknown events that take place in our world, especially in the sky. So, I would like to show you some mysterious sky events recorded on video. Weird flashes appear all over the world that make people wonder what they are. The majority of scientists believe that these flashes are due to asteroids and meteors flying by. Here is a video of a mysterious flash that was recorded in Russia in 2017. The local residents were confused and scared.
Что за фигня, блин? Откуда свет сверху? Блин, что-то я очкую. Что это?
The local police received a lot of phone calls. People also said that they heard a loud noise. So as a result, many believe that it was a meteor flashing by. It could not have been lightning, since that day there was no reports of thunderstorms in the area. In South Carolina, this woman recorded this strange sky that looked like waves from the ocean. It could be a coincidence. However, a lot of people believe that it's the result of the secret weapon, HAARP, that is developed to manually affect the weather.
This is what the sky looks like. Never seen it in my life. It looks almost like, I don't even know how to explain it.
On July 9, 2015, Texas residents witnessed a UFO that appeared above them. The most interesting thing is that instead of the regular plate-shaped UFO ship, they saw a geometric cube. Of course, there are a bunch of photos by different people posted on social websites. Here is one of them. This man from El Paso also signed under the photo that before the cube's appearance, a strong wind appeared from out of nowhere. Here, another man snapped pictures of this event. From his angle, we can see that it's not a cube, but rather a cuboid. Another woman reported that she saw this cube when she went for her lunch break. At first she thought that it was just a huge balloon, but when she took a closer look, she realized that the cube had a really enormous size, and it was making a weird noise. Of course, this cube could be a prank, but what if it was really an alien ship? On December 2016, residents of a Russian city recorded this weird UFO object. People recorded this UFO and uploaded it to the social network websites. See these two unknown objects that appear in the sky.
Первый раз в жизни такое?
Вообще.
Четко ведь видно.
Конечно, она ворочается.
Right after the New Year, 3 suns rose above several cities in Europe. 2 or 3 suns appearing in the sky is an optical illusion that is very rare. It usually only happens in really cold weather when the sun reflects lights into the icy air. This unknown event was recorded by a telescope in Hawaii. Scientists believe that the source of this light came from the Earth. Thank you all for watching. Have a good night.
Mierda es eso. ¿Qué es eso?
Antena apa nih?
Смотрите по краям, как это.
Ага,
Да, дядь Коль?
ага.
О, что-то как ходит.
Да. Что за хрень?
Кого-то кто-то ходит там вроде.
Позвонили, нет, Ленуське? Она выходит? Блин, прикольно.
Ласки прятки. Коля, позови бабы.
Wheel in the sky. Speculation has settled firmly on a failed Russian rocket test. Russia's defense ministry has refused to comment, but military sources are telling leading Russian newspapers that there was a test of a Russian Bulava intercontinental ballistic missile that failed yesterday. It had previously been announced that there would be tests of the Bulava in the region between December 7th and 14th, and specifically from 2 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Wednesday morning, according to one Russian newspaper.
מה זה מגיע? צלם מלמטה.
Face.
Es una culebra en Bolivia.
Ya se fue otra vez para atrás. Quería estar más cerca.
Está cayendo, bueno, esto es de Miami. Si los camionetes vienen aquí, creo que nos vamos a visitar. Oye, va para abajo, papi. man. 80. 80. Viene apagado. Viene apagado, papá. Está cayendo. Mira, desapareció. Todavía queda tú. Oye, nos vemos, dale.
هذه السحابة سبحان الله لا إله إلا الله. حصلتها في المزارع في بدع فارس، يعني ما بيني وبينها إلا 5 أمتار. الحين ترد على السيارة. هذه قدر إلهية سبحان الله. نزلت الأرض الحين، فأنا مستعجب صراحة. ممكن حد يصدق أو ما حد يصدق إنها سحابة. الحين طاحت في الأرض ونشبت في الشبك. هاي لا كيف تقسمت إلى أجزاء. الحين جزء طاح منها ودخل داخل المزارع. سحابة غريبة اشتلت. فأنا اليوم صراحة مستغرب المنطقة هذه، أشياء غرايب فيها أشوفها. الحين طلعت فوق. هل تصدق يا أخي؟ لا إله إلا الله. مفطط شكل الإنسان. الحين بصور هذا. الحين ما انزل بتصور انا فيها. شوف تعال جو التلفون هذا. شوف ها جود هذا. شوف جود ايوه. شوف هنا. شوف شوف
ايوه
هذا نزلت من السماء. عجيب. شكرا يا رفيق شكرا. عجائب الدنيا ما تاك في السماء يا ريت انها تتواضح.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Skywatch Media News. This is the final week of June 2017. Have you heard the latest news from the scientific community? Astrophysicists from the University of Arizona have compelling evidence which suggests that a planetary object with a Mars-to-Earth mass is most likely lurking in the solar system. This object would be much closer than the so-called Planet 9, which is still awaiting confirmation from astronomers. The orbital body has given away its presence by observations which show that it is presently controlling the orbital plane of the Kuiper Belt in the outer regions of our solar system. The Kuiper Belt lies beyond the orbit of Neptune, where a host of icy bodies and dwarf planets dwell. So the unseen mass would have to be equivalent to the mass of Mars or Earth to be capable of warping the orbital plane of the outer solar system. According to calculations, an object with the mass of Mars or Earth orbiting roughly 60 AU from the Sun, or an orbit that is tilted by 8 degrees to the plane of the known planets, would have the required gravitational influence to warp the orbital plane of the outer solar system. An AU in astronomical terms is the equivalent of approximately 95 million miles, the distance from the Earth to the Sun. So take 60 and multiply it by the 95 million, and you can see just how many miles from the Sun we are talking about here. And yet this object has the capability of warping the orbital plane of the belt for as far as 10 AU on either side. And then we are talking about something quite extraordinary here. We continue to get information in bits and pieces from the scientific community pertaining to new discoveries in our solar system. Every few months we get announcements from NASA and other space organizations that new planets and star systems have been discovered in our backyard. If there is something of significant importance to tell the world, then the disclosure must be slow and precise as a means to get out in front of the story before it becomes too obvious to the watchful eye. For decades, the public has been told that there is nothing out there. There is no Planet X or any other rogue planet that exists in our solar system. That is what they told us, and they made sure that the media reported in the same manner. But everything has changed now. They can no longer control what is happening. As things become more obvious to the public, then the truth can no longer be kept in the dark. So expect more announcements from NASA very soon, as things are really getting serious. They know it, we know it, and time has a way of revealing all things. There is a lot of anticipation for the big event that will happen later this summer. On August 21st, a major solar eclipse will pass over half of the planet. But the interesting details of this particular eclipse is that the path of its totality will bring total darkness to only one country, the United States. Solar eclipses have long been considered as harbingers of disasters for the Gentile nations. For those of you who follow the words of Scripture, this particular passage may hold great meaning in correlation to the upcoming eclipse. Now, I am not an interpreter of the spoken word, but if you study these words carefully, you may notice that the timing of this passage appears to be quite concise. So what is the correlation between this passage of Scripture and the major solar eclipse of 2017? There is something unprecedented and extraordinary that will take place on August 21st. When the sun rises on this date in the United States, it will do so in total darkness. So that you may understand, the sun will be totally dark when it rises above the horizon on that date. This event would then relate to the ending verses of the passage in Isaiah, an exact correlation if the event happens as anticipated. If this scripture holds any meaning to you, then this eclipse would have to be the one that occurs prior to the actual day of the Lord, which will happen during the Feast of Trumpets in September. It cannot be interpreted any other way. Now, if anyone has any doubts about the significance of this solar event, then take a look at how this event will play out. This map indicates the precise route of this major summer event. As you can see, it will cross over the heartland of the United States from the northwest to the southeast. The focus of this event will be squarely over the United States, which makes this an exceptionally rare occurrence in historical terms for this country. The total eclipse of 2017 will be visible from a narrow corridor, which makes the eclipse even more interesting, as you can see here. The path of the August eclipse crosses the path of the upcoming eclipse of April 2024, which is almost 7 years to the date. Does the number 7 sound familiar to you? It is the time of the day of the Lord as described in the book of Revelation. These two eclipses are therefore placing a huge emphasis on the United States. So stay tuned, folks. There are some interesting times ahead of us. If you spend time searching the internet on the subject of Planet X, you're bound to come upon a number of essays and articles that explain a possible catastrophe scenario caused by extraterrestrial sources, such as a Planet 9 or a large brown dwarf planet, which is basically a failed star. There have been several scientific studies floating around that are attempting to find evidence of its existence beyond Neptune. But since scientists remain in disagreement on whether the planet actually exists, the matter hasn't garnered much attention lately. So the theory of a Planet 9 may have gone silent in the short term, but the notion that something is out there lurking in our solar system is still very much alive. After all, something is affecting the entire solar system and potentially threatening our planet. And so an explanation must be forthcoming. It is very likely that scientists have been playing a game of deceit when they talk about Planet 9. Depending on who is conducting the study, the planet is either very real and it is creating a warp pull in the solar system, or it is still a hypothetical planet. So how can both be true? How many times have we heard critics say that if the planet were on a collision course with Earth, it would be seen by now? And yet these same people have never been able to rule out the likelihood of its existence. Here is an interesting statistic that you may not be aware of. According to the Stern Review on the Economics of Climate Change, a report which was conducted for the British government in 2006, people are 5 times more likely to perish in an extinction-level event than by any other means known to man. Therefore, the risk of human extinction due to a major calamity, whether that be man-made, natural, or extraterrestrial, could be much higher than anyone would have ever imagined. Every year there is a higher risk of a supervolcano erupting or an asteroid strike on the planet. Both would be devastating at ground zero, but they would also kick up dust into the atmosphere, blocking sunlight and causing global temperatures to plunge. But these are not the only risks that we are facing. What about a genetically engineered pandemic or geoengineering gone awry? Statistical models are showing, whether we agree with them or not, that the planet could see an extraterrestrial event in the form of a hazardous near-Earth object in our lifetime. Now, these models also mention calamities caused by a rogue planet, like Nibiru or Planet X. As I mentioned at the beginning, something very odd is going on beyond Pluto. Astronomers have known for decades that something exists at the outer edge of the solar system in the vicinity of the Kuiper Belt. But unlike most of the planets and asteroids which orbit between Mars and Jupiter, there are a handful of objects which have weird orbits, which we call elongated paths around the Sun. It's possible that we are being programmed for the apocalyptic catastrophe in our future. All of this death obsession and disaster that we speak of may be part of the galactic cycle, the cycle of life that includes death. When the consciousness becomes aware of this, we begin to see the Earth change and global catastrophes occur. Take a look around you. This is exactly what is happening now. On the flip side, we have learned that while catastrophes of the extinction level have come and gone, life always has a way of coming back to the planet. The story of catastrophe and regeneration is part of complexity theory, and we realize the Earth is in constant renewal. From chaos comes order and the replenishment of the Earth. What is written in the book of the Apocalypse is the cyclical nature of our existence and the cyclical appearance of Nemesis and Planet X. Astronomers say that an encounter with Nemesis will alter the magnetic polarity of the Sun, will cause massive solar flares, and create earthquakes that will move the axis of the Earth. But scientists say that we should not be worried, as it appears that Nemesis has escaped the gravitational pull of our Sun and has wandered far away into the Milky Way galaxy, never to be found again. Or will it? Something is causing significant changes on our planet. According to the American Meteorite Society, since 2005, Earth has seen an increase in asteroid activity of over 800%. Since January, there have been more near misses of large asteroids that cross between the Earth and the Moon than at any other time on record. Extinction models such as the Stern Review include the possibility of a Nemesis or Planet X cataclysm here on Earth. Can anyone explain why this is so? There is also the oddity of all the talk about Kepler planets being discovered. NASA, in their infinite wisdom, are more than happy to tell us about their recent discoveries and their potential for habitat, but they choose to remain silent about any theory that involves the existence of Planet X, and for a very good reason. On the last day of the year, 1983, the chief scientist for the IRIS satellite announced to the world the discovery of Planet X. It was actually published in 6 different daily publications. Shortly thereafter, the media controllers clamped down on that story and forced the establishment to retract their announcement. In other words, the planet went silent. Since that time, the controllers have concocted simplistic stories to explain away the report of the perturbations of the outer planets that led to the discovery in the first place. It was all a misunderstanding. Only the latest controlled scopes could have seen Planet X, but when smaller observatories began spotting something unusual in 2001, they came out and announced that they had found the largest asteroid in history. Little did the world know that what these observatories had found was not a giant asteroid, but rather the elusive Planet X. But rather than tell the world of an overwhelmingly important story that has great implications for humanity, sadly they chose to do nothing, until which time it would be upon us and finally seen by the whole world. The controllers of NASA and its insiders are fully aware of this. The disruption of Earth could change your view of ancient history. Societies of old reached a pinnacle of development many times before, only to be put back in technical and evolutionary time by the wrecking ball of Planet X. If you know anything about the sunken cities that have been discovered in locations around the world, this would indicate that something catastrophic took place in our ancient history. It seems that much of what was known in these times, the mysterious reasons for lost civilizations, just disappeared into folklore and myths as societies began to pick up the pieces and rebuild as they had done throughout many generations of time. For all of the criticism being spent on this, it does not inhibit the theorists who are convinced that Planet X is out there and its wrecking ball is coming our way. If in fact it does exist, it will manifest itself at the appropriate time, and it will rid the world of any doubt. But be careful what you may wish for, because its arrival will be vengeful and merciless to the world. So stay safe, be mindful of your surroundings, and keep looking to the sky.
Hi everyone. There is quite a bit of news to cover in this video, so let's get right to it. I mentioned some time ago that world leaders were preparing for something catastrophic when it was discovered that they were preparing top secret bunkers for the political and wealthy elite. The disaster that governments are and have been preparing for is one that will have dire consequences for civilization. So let's examine the facts that are known at this time and see if we can connect the dots. Let's begin with a video clip from 2015, which may explain why trillions of taxpayers' money has mysteriously disappeared. This shelter, located in Europe, is just one of many shelters that have been built for the world's elite. So if you're afraid of the end of the world and have a few millions of dollars to spend, you're welcome to secure a place at the Europa One shelter. If not, at least now you know such a place exists. Something strange is happening right here in the United States. There appears to be room for 10,000 of the world's elite to step into an underground world beneath Denver. Huge drills have dug underground bases below the Rocky Mountains, which are connected to Washington by high-speed trains. Giant nuclear-powered drills, similar to those used by the British and French to carve out the English Channel, are now glazing the walls of underground facilities, fortifying them for future use. The reason for such a complex system of bunkers has nothing to do with a nuclear World War III, but rather a natural disaster the likes of which this present world has never witnessed. This event is apocalyptic and involves the arrival of Planet X. The magnetic field created by the passage of this planetary system could cause a massive debris field to rain down on the world. Something epic is about to occur that the elite have been preparing for since the discovery of this system back in the early 1980s by the IRIS telescope. First, its discovery was announced to the world via 2 major newspapers, and then it was suddenly suppressed and no government agency was allowed to discuss it again. So what can most people do to prepare who aren't among the privileged few? Will they wait until the government makes a nationwide announcement and then look up into the sky to see what's coming? Will they wait until a series of nuclear weapons are detonated or a viral pandemic becomes widespread before finally becoming motivated to prepare? But by that time, it will have been too late to make any preparations. There have been unusual reports of strange sounds and vibrations coming from underground in the past 20 years. Almost continuously, reports have come from ordinary people in many townships across the heartland of the United States and in southern Canada. Listen as residents of Windsor, Ontario, talk about these unusual sounds that are ongoing.
That we began hearing and feeling a very loud vibration outside. We really didn't acknowledge it at the time, but 1.5 years later, the vibrations and the rumblings have become so intense that it's disrupted our daily lives. The rumblings begin almost immediately in the morning and proceed throughout the evening, getting stronger in intensity.
I live in South Windsor. We started hearing some of the rumbling noises in about February. And then in time, I started noticing greater frequency and patterns, particularly in the evenings, where this noise was occurring. And it really culminated in an incident at the end of May 31st. I was watching a basketball game, and it was incredibly loud. The vibrations, you could feel them coming through the house and through the windows. We went out to see what it was, and it was just so intense. And as a result of that, I got involved. I contacted the Ministry of the Environment to find out what the issue was and to find out what they knew about it, and made some further efforts to get the federal government to provide some monitoring equipment.
Back in March, I started to receive 1 or 2 phone calls about some consistent rumblings and vibrations in neighborhoods in and around the ward, specifically around Rankin and Taunton and other areas like that. At the time, I probably would have thought it was just some sort of isolated construction project in the area, but it then escalated quite significant over the next month and a half, 2 months or so. I started hearing it from all over the western part of my ward, of Ward 10, and then starting to hear a lot more from residents all over the southern part of Windsor and west parts of Windsor and LaSalle. So I then, at this point, decided to get together with some residents, visit their homes, and start pinpointing on a map exactly where these vibration rumblings, noises are coming from. Last night, around between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m., I visited those homes, visited some areas, and it was a real strong vibration that had come from the ground. It was a synthetic noise. It's really there.
You personally experienced it?
I personally experienced it. I sat and the person in the house at the time shut off the air conditioner, shut off the furnace, shut off the water main, shut off the electricity, and turned everything off and around the house. And if you put your palm to the hardwood floor, you could feel some sort of synthesizing little bit of a noise vibration. It's very weak. It grows a little bit, but it's consistent, and it goes back down. It's real. It's there. It's present. And I think that this issue needs to be taken much more serious. There needs to be an investigation. It's out there. It's getting, complaints are rising, and it started with 1 or 2 people, and now it's gotten to hundreds and hundreds of people across the southern west part of the city, and even bordering into the south.
So, as you can see, there are difficult questions that we must ask ourselves. Did you know that there is a joint venture of the National Security Agency, the Department of Defense, the Department of Homeland Security, and the Center for Disease Control, which has been created to facilitate an expansive tunnel system throughout the South to protect us from nuclear, biological, and chemical attack? These tunnels will also serve as conduits for national defense, to move troops, supplies, and armor between strategic locations. Here is something that is worth noting. The tunnels are already in place. They are reportedly using a 6-month time frame to clear out the facilities and reconfigure them for supply depots, communication hubs, and pre-processing centers. Now, you know there are going to be some who are going to think this is all crazy nonsense. These are the same people who spend little or no time researching this. The same is true with respect to Planet X. It's easy to say it doesn't exist if you haven't done any serious research. My suggestion to those who know or feel that something just isn't right is to use the internet while it is still available for your use. There are many books and publications that can teach you how to construct fortified bunkers, and at the same time show you how to prepare food and water supplies in a natural manner. Some of you will say, what is the use of preparing? We're all going to die anyway. That is an easy out for those who are not prepared and have no intention of doing so. But for the rest of us, being prepared to face any potential disaster is of the utmost importance, as it could happen at any given time. Every disaster, regardless of the impact, teaches us a lesson, that it is better to have a clear understanding of what to do when disaster strikes than to be wandering in the wilderness with no concept of how to survive. The construction of underground facilities may very well be related to what is happening in the sky. Many of you are convinced that another sun is appearing. There are many photos and videos that are providing ample evidence to support this. Regardless, there are some in the community who do not want to talk about this and are doing everything which is humanly possible to keep you from discovering the truth. One of the ways in which they have tried to hide this is through the continuous use of chemtrails. If you spend any time in the outdoors, especially in areas that are heavily populated, you will see the trails zigzag across the horizon prior to sunset or just before sunrise. The spraying of our atmosphere will continue as long as the vast majority of us have our faces glued to our cell phones or a television screen, or for as long as the mainstream media keeps it under wraps. It doesn't matter what we call this thing, a second sun, a brown dwarf star, Nibiru, the red or blue Kachina of Hopi prophecy. It just doesn't matter because it is there. They are attempting to keep it hiding from view. I know this because I have seen it firsthand. They spray chemtrails early in the morning and again in the evening. Not every day, but when it is needed. They even make an X to mark the spot. Whatever has entered into our existence, its presence is being felt across the solar system. What it will do and when it will make its presence known is a matter of interpretation. But it must be something extraordinary, otherwise the people in authority wouldn't be going to such extremes to keep its presence hidden for so many years. So, my friends, keep your eyes open and focused on your surroundings. Here is something very interesting that I just recently discovered about Nibiru, which is known in ancient literature as the planet of the crossing. It is now apparent that Nibiru is no longer a theory. Scientists and educators across the globe have come to the conclusion that its existence is real, and that it poses concerns for the inhabitants of planet Earth. This may seem whimsical to some of you, especially those who cannot grasp the concept of a Planet X. But for a number of years now, there have been a series of subtle hints given to the public, warning them of what is to come. This has been accomplished through means of Hollywood productions, commercials, and television documentaries. Down in Antarctica, there is another story waiting to be told. All of a sudden, government officials, military brass, even predominant members of the world's religions are going there. But why? What is so important that requires their immediate attention and concern? There is even some speculation that people are being evacuated. If this should prove to be true, then something very disconcerting is taking place on the frozen continent. But there is one thing that is a certainty that has significant implications. The crack in the Larsen C ice shelf continues to grow and expand. There are now only 10 miles of ice that separate this from the open sea. This is not the first time that Antarctica has been on the verge of losing a significant portion of its ice sheet. But the Larsen C ice collapse will most likely change the landscape of the continent. It will allow the glacial ice to enter the ocean faster and accelerate the pace of sea level rise. This is because Larsen C is 10 times bigger than its nearby ice shelf, and therefore will have a more devastating impact on Earth's ecological balance. As you know, Skywatch Media has been posting a series of images and video clips captured by skywatchers from all over the world. They are posted on our Facebook page, which was created primarily for this purpose. Keeping you up to date is very important, so what I would like to do in my upcoming presentations is to include a few images and videos that were posted on our Facebook page that you may not have had an opportunity to view yet. So let's take a look at what is happening at this time.